This may come as a surprise, but I have myself some really good explaining to do, because basically I fucked up many things. As you may have known, I have been to London the 6th to 9th of August, which was awesome, really cool, and I've met Toothpick in FFICT and done all kinds of cool things, but there's a couple of problems. Before I went away, I figured I would record 3 episodes of the Let's Play and see how that would go. These episodes, according to the planning, being episode 88, 89 and 90. However, there were problems with how I rendered the video / recording issues, and they ended up being like switched around in the titles that they had. So like I think episode 89 and 90 were both combined into one episode, but then for episode 89, I think, I took the time-lapse for episode 91. And this is all basically very complicated, and I don't even know if I understand what is even going on myself, but yeah, the short story is I done goofed, I fucked up, and I am currently doing what is technically episode 90, so this is actually the right episode in a sense, or at least it was called episode 90. However, episode 89 was in fact really episode 91. I didn't even see anybody notice this, but you may have noticed in episode 89 there was a tree with some plants around it that wasn't there before. The ugly building, which I have just removed in this video over here, was replaced by some simple facades that are just here to just kind of be there and look less terrible than the building that was there before, but still a bit of a placeholder over here. And there's also a fence. Very spectacular, but other than that, there wasn't really too much, so that's everything that's going to be done in this episode. So yeah, I am very sorry I did fuck up, but I'm not even going to restore all this and remake the videos and re-upload them. I'll just keep it up in the same order as it is right now, and the short story is basically, this is episode 90, but it came before episode 89. As soon as I do 91, everything should still be in order, so really, what it comes down to is there are many things that went wrong, but in the end, it is just that episode 89 and 90 were switched around, at least in the things that I've done. That being said, in the next episode, I think I do remember me saying at the end of the video that I was going to be in London, which was a terrible decision. Like, I was going to record that before I went there, and now it's going to be uploaded after I've already been there, and it's going to be really confusing. But in any case, I have been in London at this point, and that was awesome, and that's all past me, and so is all this fucking up on whatever I even did. So I probably should move to what I've done in Rollercoaster Tycoon 3 over here. The only thing is that I've already sort of summarized that, haven't I? It's just simple stuff in this episode, really. Not that much was happening. I just opened up another stream and figured there's a couple of problems with this park, and we're gonna try and fix these problems, or at least a couple of problems, and see how far we got. And basically what I got out of that was, the first thing was that this building near the entrance of the Spanish area just had to be removed. That thing was absolutely terrible, it was ugly, it was a piece of fucking shit, and it needed to be gone right now, right the second that I looked at it. Basically, there were many problems with it. I've already complained many times about the fact that the T4L roof tile set has beautiful tiled roofs, but they're really light and they don't really work out with the texture and all that. The overall shape of the building doesn't work too well, and even though I do think it was an alright building, it doesn't really work for the cityscape that I have around it. It was way too much of a rural looking building, so that's why that is now gone. That being said, I didn't know what to really do with the facades otherwise, so I did still leave them empty. I should have maybe done the same with this thing over here, because that's basically the main issue right now in the Spanish area, is that I just have this one corner, which is next to the main square of the park, which connects to the facades that I already have, where I don't really know for sure what I want to build over here. But the big issue with not knowing that is the fact that I don't want to leave it empty, but every time I try to build something over here, it just turns out into something that's like, it's alright, but not the sort of thing that I want to have in this area. So I might just for the future leave this area open, not just because I'm lazy and don't want to work on it, it's also sort of just to prepare myself at some point. Maybe I might come up with an idea that really fits this area, using which I can actually place some buildings over here that really work out well and don't have to look terrible like the buildings are doing right now. So that was basically also at that point in the video I also decided, okay, let's not do that. It's not going to quite work out anyway, so might as well work on something else. I suppose that's never a bad thing to really do as long as you do come back to it. But that being said, this is a very obvious facade and definitely something that I'm gonna have to come back to, since it's just empty grass right now and it's really terrible. So as long as it's something that you're gonna have to come back to anyway, I think it's sometimes just really good to just do it at some other point in time. So at that point I figured that the pathworks needed some stuff over here. That's when I decided to build a fence over here, which is, at the time, I don't know if I really found it too much of a good idea. At the moment, I still don't think it's the best idea. It's just really hard to fit anything over here, since one of the main things that this park was going to have was that you would see all of the different themes that this park has around the main square. In whichever direction they are from the middle of Eurasia, you would see the types of buildings. So near the main street, it's just going to be the main street sort of style. Now, since this is the Mediterranean area, I did want to have Mediterranean buildings next to the square over here. But issue is, on the other side of that road over there, I wanted to have Dutch-looking buildings, maybe English, since that's what's going to be the other side of the river. But the big problem with that is that it doesn't really connect to the other Dutch and English themes. And like I've said before, I don't really want to have too much of that theme going on in this Spanish. Let me actually be able to talk over here in the Spanish area, since that would just be terrible. So right now I decided to just leave that empty, add a fence over there, maybe some simple foliage, but I might come back on that plan. Anyway, this is something that I did feel pretty, well, alright about. I figure I wanted to have a planter over here just to fill up the emptiness. We're very afraid of the emptiness over here, and this emptiness just needed filling up over here. I figure with having these sidewalks, it is still a path that is 5 to 6 tiles wide, so it can definitely handle the stream of guests that it might get. So I felt pretty safe just adding a little planter action over here. Plus that's always fun to do. It's always just, I don't know if I'm the only person, but I just feel like it's just fun to get these little shapes in here and see whatever shape works out. And then of course add the flowers, but everybody knows already that I really like flowers. Plus it just gives me more room to wiggle around with whatever I really wanted to do on the other side, since I was still very undecided, and placing flowers is just an awesome thing. Damn it. I always come back to that. I always do that. Also, at some point, I might add, like, if I don't go through with the entire plan of having foliage, where right now there's just a simple fence, which is gonna have foliage behind it, because I don't want to really break the Spanish theme too much, I might want to try and add a tiny bit of a French theme on the other side of this path. Maybe just a tiny little square with some simple buildings. Maybe something that looks like an Eiffel Tower or something very distinctly French, because otherwise it's going to be really hard to make it look very French. But even though I wasn't really planning on it, I almost feel as if I can't just skip France completely. That would be a terrible thing to do. That being said, I don't want to do that with too many countries. I can't, that's also a problem. I can't fit every single culture or country in well in this park. That would make it way too huge, or the area is way too small to work with. So if I do end up adding many more themes to this park than I originally planned, which there should still be some room for to do it, then those are just gonna be very small things. I think that Europa Park also sort of did that. I mean, I have actually looked at Europa Park and actually saw some comments of people who have been there. I haven't been there myself, but at least I think that some areas are just really small. Like Russia has just got a couple buildings. The quote-unquote Spanish area is just one little arena. So there really isn't too much to the different areas. So I might also want to try stuff like that and just make some some countries really small over here. But in any case, I still want to keep like the big areas in the park are not going to be the countries. That's something that I probably haven't made too clear. But the park is divided into areas which contain respective like similar countries. So basically over here, this is the Mediterranean area, which is why it has Spain and Italy at the moment. And I do just feel safe adding France to there, even though France doesn't really have too much Mediterranean going on. It is a bit of a Mediterranean country also, like in the culture that they have, and the fact that they are, well, partly next to the Mediterranean Sea. And the area next to this is going to be like the northwestern European countries, being Holland, maybe a bit of Belgium, and England, of course, but I might still be able to fit Ireland in there, though I'm not sure about adding that next to England, since that might give me some trouble. But I do feel pretty safe about that. And then obviously we are going to have East Asia. That's a really easy one, of course, with Japan. That's a sure thing. I might also want to go into Chinese and very maybe Korea. That might happen. But I'm not too sure about that either. Now I'm skipping areas. I also wanted to have a Alpine area, which is going to have Romania. And yes, I know that's not Alpine, but it does have some mountains and it has similar sort of architecture. And for the other areas, I still need to sort of figure that out. Anyway, in the meantime, I do see that I have been running out of time, and right now that not too much is really happening anymore. So I think I'm gonna have to end it here, as all the flowers have been placed and all the fences have been placed and all the sidewalk curbs are all done and everything. I think it's time to say goodbye. So I'm gonna do that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next episode, in which I am actually going to do episode 91 for real this time.